What's going on, everybody? It's Ryan Fontenot here with the 1 Million Cent podcast, where we are aiming to train 1 million teens around the globe to share the gospel by 2030. So thank you for taking time to listen. Thank you for tuning in, watching wherever you might be doing so. And I'm excited about today's episode. Every time we get together, it's either me teaching you a practical tip of, hey, how can I be more effective in sharing the gospel in my everyday life? Or it's me sitting down and interviewing other brothers and sisters in Christ who have a passion to see this next generation come to know, grow, and go with their faith. And today, I'm excited to have a good friend of mine, Clint Followell, on the podcast with me. Clint, how's it going, my friend?
It's good, man. Thanks for having me on here, Ryan. I've followed you for a while and heard you speak many times, and it's exciting to see what you're doing, motivating kids and young people to go spread the gospel.
Hey man, that's what it's about. Thank you for that. And I always love connecting with people. I know we got to connect several months ago at a gathering with other youth pastors, and it was great to catch up. And I love as well seeing what God is doing in and through you guys. You said you guys just finished up a Disciple Now weekend, and things went good.
Yeah, it was great, man. We brought in Jared Greer with Overcoming Obstacles.
I love it. Love that brother.
He killed it, and our kids loved that course. And then I've got a good friend that I've started to build relationship with named Tyler Hates Life. And he's an artist. He came in from Atlanta. But we had 7 kids come to know Christ and a whole bunch rededicate their life. And so it was a really good weekend.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I don't know Tyler yet, but I do know Jared. And listen, if y'all don't know Jared, Overcoming Obstacles, he's a ninja warrior. Dude is a beast mode, and he comes in and sets up a whole deal there. And so, man, that's awesome. And the kids, you're right, man. The kids love it. And the adults, did you have adults try it and fail? Because that's my favorite thing to watch.
Yeah, we actually had a couple adult, like dad versus son races. It was pretty funny. But Jared kind of rigged it, so that the kid had to make it all the way up the ramp, and the dad just had to hit a number. And so the dad
there you go.
won.
There you go. That's right, man. Dad win. That's right. I love it. That's fair. Well, man, I'm so glad you're on here today, and we'll jump into a little bit of where you're at and what you're doing. But before we do, let's start out with some rapid fire questions here, man. Cool. These are just to get us warmed up, man. Get the joints moving, get the jaws warm. So here we go, man. Number 1, are you a coffee guy or an energy drink guy, Clint?
I'm coffee on the daily and an energy drink when I need it.
Okay, I like that, man. Go ahead and show them that nice mug you got, by the way,
there
man.
You go, right
but
there.
Out, check that out. Yep. If you're gonna drink coffee, you might as well share the gospel while you're. So
that's right.
Anyway, man, I love it. So coffee. All right. Hey, now are you a coffee snob, or are you just like any coffee? Let's go.
I mean, I love really good coffee, but really any coffee is coffee. So
I like that, man.
Good coffee. I mean, there are places here in town where, if I'm going to go get coffee, there are a couple places that I'll go to, and that's all I'm going to go.
Okay.
But otherwise, I'll make my own coffee, and that's it.
I love it, man. I love it. So speaking of getting up and going, are you a morning guy, midday guy, night guy? Where's your sweet spot time of the day?
I want to be a morning guy, but I'm a night guy. I always have been. I just can't. I can't get up early, and I just stay up late for no reason.
There you go. Hey, there you go, man. Hey, you just got to be who you be, right?
That's right.
I love it. Well, as you are up and traveling, maybe with friends or family, destinations, vacations, are you kind of a drive guy? Hey, man, let's enjoy the scenery, check out the journey. Are you a fly guy? Let's get to the destination.
Well, the spring of COVID, when all that was going down, my wife and I bought an RV, and we have taken it all over the place, gone to the Grand Canyon twice, gone to the Tennessee Great Smoky Mountains, and we're going to go back there this summer. And so I'm a drive guy. As long as I've got an RV where I can spread out and get my kids away from me and the noise somewhere else. But if we've got to all be crammed in together, I guess we'll fly because it's faster. But But
That's
driving is
right.
the way. I love to be able to just drive and get to see stuff, and it's good.
Oh man, I love that, bro. I love that. We've thought about RVing, but we're just we're not sure. We're not sure we got it in us. We're gonna give it a shot sometime though. All right. Well, speaking of travel, man, in different seasons, are you winter, spring, summer, fall? When's your favorite time of year?
My favorite time of year is probably fall. I like the
Yeah.
weather in most places. It's not too hot, usually not too cold,
Yeah.
and I grew up in the Midwest, just outside of St. Louis, and so those
Okay.
leaf changes, man. When fall
Yeah.
hits and you've got all those colors, it's gorgeous. So I love the fall.
Ah. Okay, okay, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. So when you go on these trips, and I may know this answer from what you spoke of a little bit, are you more of a beach guy? Or are you a mountain guy? Sounds like you might be a mountain. I'm not sure.
100% mountains. Get me away from that sand. I don't want sand anywhere near me. I hate being itchy and gross. And so get me in the mountains, get me away from the bugs, and that's where I want to be.
Okay, okay. Well, when you're traveling and say you've got this good dinner, man, y'all stop somewhere, you got a good dinner and your belly's full, but it just needs some yummy, yummy, Are you going for the pie or are you going for the cake, man? What are you going for?
Absolutely 100% pie every time. Give me a
Okay,
little ice
man.
cream with some pie, and that's it.
Ooh, some pie a la mode. I like it. Do you have a favorite pie?
It's always been cherry. Growing up as a kid, I love
Okay.
cherry pie.
There you go, man. I love it. Now, here's the question I got for you. Do the ones in the gas station, the little cherry like ones, the pocket ones, or did those suffice or no? No, you need the real deal.
I mean, if you're talking like breakfast pie, sure. But if you're
Yeah.
talking like I want
Okay.
some real good, like it's time for dessert pie with ice cream,
Yeah.
no way. You got to get some
Let's go.
homemade cherry
I
pie
love it.
with some ice
All
cream
right.
on it.
I love it, man. All right. Now let's get a little bit more spiritual, right? Let's get a little more spiritual. When it comes to the Bible, you find yourself more of like an Old Testament guy. You love the stories, the narratives, or are you a New Testament guy, man? Where do you kind of land the most?
I would say probably, honestly, Old Testament because of the stories, but also I studied 4 years of Hebrew,
Oh,
um,
wow. There you
and
go.
man, I love the Hebrew language. It's weird. It's different. You read right
Yes.
to left, and
It's
and
backwards.
it's backwards is right. But there's something about it that I was fascinated by it in college and
Yeah.
in seminary, and so I always go back to it and would
I
much
love
rather
that.
study the Hebrew than the Greek, just personally.
Oh man, there you go, bro. I took both in seminary, and I gotta say, man, I definitely leaned more toward Greek. The Hebrew stuff, I was like, what is this? These aren't even like letters. They're like I don't even know, man. So, but props to you. I'm glad God gifts us all with different stuff. Well, let's talk about New Testament for a little bit, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, four different gospels, man, four different writers writing the very similar story, obviously. But who's your go-to guy?
Hmm. I mean, since this is about 1 million cent and reaching people, I would say John is my go-to when we're talking
All
like
right.
sharing the gospel with people or just people asking
Yeah.
questions. Let's go read John
Yeah.
together.
Let's
It,
do it. Let's do
it
it.
that's the one I go to.
I love it. I love that, man. So it's so true, right? I think you could just have the Gospel of John and share the entire gospel. See people say, right? That's why I wrote the thing, right? So anyway, but well, cool, man. Well, I've got one last question, and this one's a big one. People look forward to it. People love to guess this one. So if you're watching or listening and you're able to, go ahead, drop your guess. And Clint, don't tell us yet. We'll come back at the very end and have you answer this one. But is Clint Followell a dog guy or a cat guy? Don't answer it right now, man. But we got to know, is my boy a dog guy or a cat guy? Now, you got to look at that face, look at that beard, look at that hat. Look, I mean, we've given you lots of context here. You tell me, what do you think? Drop a guess in the comments wherever you're watching this. Let's see if you get it right. And Clint, we'll come back and get that answer for you. Do you have an answer? Do you have an answer, man?
Oh, 100% have an answer.
Okay, he's got an answer. Okay, all right, good. Well, man, let's jump right in here, Clint. Where are you at right now, and where are you serving? What are you doing? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I've been at First Baptist Church in San Marcos, Texas for 10 years as their youth and college minister. So I've been doing that, like I said, here 10 years. And then I also serve as the campus minister at San Marcos Baptist Academy, private school here in
Okay.
town. And so
Yeah.
we've been doing that ever since we moved to San Marcos after graduating seminary in Waco, and we love it.
I love that, man. I love it. Now, you said obviously you're married, have kids. Tell us a little bit about your family, bro.
So married to my wife, Monica, and she is our missions minister here at church as well. She's been on staff for 9 years. And
Awesome.
then we have 3 kids. Our oldest 2 are adopted, Brandon and David. And Brandon is now 22 years old, grew up out of,
Come on.
through our youth ministry. And now David is 13, coming up into the ministry. And then our youngest, who's our bio kid, is Asher. And he's a curly little redheaded boy, and he is the joy of our life. But he's 8 years
I love
old. And
it.
so that's our
I love
family in
it.
a nutshell.
There you go, man. I love that, bro. I love adoption. I love, man, just hearing those stories. I think you know this, maybe you do, I don't know, but our youngest son is adopted, and just an absolute blessing to our family. And we thought we were done. We had 2 girls. We're like, all right, we're done. Then Lord started stirring our heart. We put our yes on the table, but I put it on there like with kind of caveat. But God, we need a girl because a boy would just mess everything up, right? And the Lord drops. I'm talking about not just a boy, but a man's man, just a
There
boy
you
up
go.
in our house, man. So it's like a
Of course he
bombshell
did.
up in here.
Of course he did. Yep.
I love it. I love it, man. That's awesome. So 10 years, man, that's incredible. I think the recent studies have said that the average stay of a youth pastor at a church is less than 18 months now, man. 10 years is a great run, man. A whole decade that you've been there. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit. You do college, students, and you have a school connected to the church there,
The school isn't like officially connected.
right?
It's its
Okay.
own thing.
Yep.
But I've been out there a lot, even through
Yeah.
the 10 years before. And then their
Yeah.
previous campus minister stepped away. And when they
Okay. Okay.
did, the new president reached out and was like, hey, what if y'all just do just chapels? Because originally their campus minister did
Hmm.
chapel and taught. And so
Yeah.
it was like a
Gotcha.
full-time role. And he had the idea of allowing someone as a minister to just focus in
Mm,
on ministry and not worry about
awesome.
teaching too. So he approached us, and Monica and I actually share that position. So we're both
Okay.
the campus
Cool.
ministers there, so we can
Wow.
kind of alternate and rotate.
Yeah.
And then we do chapels on Monday, Wednesday, Friday out there with all those students.
Dude, what a blessing to have, you there. I know ministering to a lot of the guys, and I know there's crossover, but also having your wife there who's helping minister to girls in ways that us got. Man, that's awesome, dude. What a blessing. Have you found that to be true? Like having a male and a female there is like, man, like a really, really great deal.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I wish I don't have like an intern or an associate
Hmm.
minister, but I wish I did or had the
Yeah.
ability where I could have someone like that. I've got small group leaders that are
Right.
female in the youth ministry, but it would
Yeah.
make such a huge difference to have like a more stable
Yeah.
leadership position for the
Yeah.
females in our youth group. But at the school, it absolutely we those
Yeah.
girls go to her with all sorts of stuff, and they would never come to me,
That's
thankfully,
right.
with some of those
Thankfully.
things. And you're right, I would be like, I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. Let's go find a woman
That's
that you
right.
can talk to.
Yes, yes,
And
yes. I
so
love it.
so with her being on stage and being there, being a
That's
presence,
awesome.
it gives them someone that they can
Yeah.
connect with. In fact, we just did a senior retreat with just the seniors from that school,
Hmm.
and I took all the guys with a couple guy sponsors, and we went legit camping a few weeks
Yeah,
ago, where it got down to 22 degrees the first night, and we were
bro.
camping in tents and sleeping
No, man.
bags. It was it
That's
was
camping.
crazy. We did that, and then she at the same weekend she took the senior girls with a couple female sponsors, and they went out to the beach, and
Mm,
they had a great time. And it was just awesome to
love
be
it.
able to take them
Yeah.
together on separate trips and see God do some awesome things in those lives of those seniors out there.
Man, that's awesome. Now, as you tell this, some people are wondering, man, how does somebody get to be where you are? Can you kind of share real quick your story? Hey, man, here's when I met Christ. Here was my call to ministry. Here's how I got to where I am, kind of in a nutshell for us there.
Yeah. So I was born in Texas, but grew up just outside of St. Louis. Both my parents died when I was young. My
Mm,
dad died when I was 3. I didn't really ever know him. And my mom died
mm,
when I was 9. They were both uh, in and out of drugs, both alcoholics. And that
mm.
really just led to a life of poor choices. And that's really ultimately how they both ended up dying. My aunt and uncle took me in. And when they took me in, they started taking me to church every Sunday. I started hearing the gospel, hearing what that meant. And that summer at summer camp, I gave my life to Christ. And so I was like third grade. And then, I just started going to church and growing and hearing about, all these things that God did and is doing and trying to experience that for ourselves. And then, in high school, really sixth grade, I first started thinking about a call to ministry and what that meant. And
did you say sixth grade?
Sixth grade. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. And I was going to talk to my youth pastor that night on a Wednesday night and get in there. And as soon as we get together, I was like, I'm going to talk to him right after. Mm-hmm. And he was like, hey, I've got a special announcement. We're all going over to the sanctuary. And so it was weird. We all went over there, and then he got up on stage and resigned right there. And I was like, well, I'm not going to talk to him. And so I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't tell anybody about it. So 7th, 8th, 9th, probably until my sophomore year in high school. And I'm just wrestling. I really think God's calling me into ministry. This is what I love to do. But I had no idea what it meant. And our youth group was going to a summer camp that summer, my junior year. They'd gone to a camp every year. And my parents wouldn't let me go, my aunt and uncle, because they said, you don't need summer camp. It's just a mountaintop experience is what they kept telling me. But and we started praying in January, my junior year, about this camp.
Okay.
Our whole youth group, we were praying every week about God to move really powerfully. And I eventually was able to convince my parents. And again, I still hadn't really talked to anybody about ministry. And we go to camp, and from the first day, I'm not hearing anything the pastors are saying, right? I'm in worship, and God is like, I'm calling you ministry. And I'm thinking to myself, I cannot accept a call to ministry at a summer camp when my parents have been telling me for 3 years, it's just a mountaintop experience. It's just going to, manipulate all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't ignore it. And so finally on Wednesday night, I was like, I've got to talk to somebody. And so I went forward, grabbed one of our leaders, and we went into a room and talked about it. We prayed, and I was like, I'm surrendering to God, whatever it means. If it means going into ministry, I'm surrendering, right? And then when we got to church share time, that night, 3 of us in that youth group all surrendered to ministry at the same time, while one of our students, our best friends, had left worship because he felt like God was telling him, you've got to go pray. And he prayed for us for 45 minutes.
Wow.
It's crazy. Anyway, and he prayed for us by name. He didn't even know what happened until after it happened. And he's like, wait, you guys surrendered to ministry? It was
Come
awesome.
on, man.
That was good.
Come
right?
on. Let's go.
So surrendered to ministry, right? Junior year, and then started looking for college. I hate to admit, but I was lazy as a high school kid. And so when it came to looking for colleges, there were a couple criteria. I wanted to go to a Baptist school. So I really Googled Baptist colleges in the U.S. And my parents, my aunt and uncle, had gone to Ouachita Baptist in Arkansas. It was 8 hours away. I knew that they wouldn't say no because they went there. And it was 8 hours away. And our relationship wasn't great at that point in high school. I'll just say that. They loved me, but I didn't understand how they loved me. And they didn't understand me a lot because I was their only kid that they got when I was 9. Okay. So I recognized all the difficulty of it, but I wanted to get away. So Ouachita was really the only college I cared about, and Googled the other one, found Baylor and applied there. But I looked at the price tag and went, nope, I'm going to Ouachita. And God worked
Ouachita,
it out.
here we come.
God blessed the search and was able to help me get there. And so I went to Ouachita, and while I was there, originally really felt God calling me to missions. That's where my heart was. And so God just got a hold of me. And so I did missions undergrad, missions in theology, and then met Monica there. Her roommate was trying to date my roommate for a year, and they never dated, but we got put together a lot. And she likes to say that God softened her heart because she did not like me. And for some good reason, I wore plaid bell-bottom pants all the time. I thought that was cool.
Of course you did.
I was in a rock band, and so I was like the screamer front man for a rock band. And
oh my gosh.
She hated it. Anyway, God softened her heart. We ended up dating, and I graduated had no idea really what I wanted to do other than I wanted to be in ministry. And we thought we were going to do missions. We both did. So then as she graduates, we both go to Truett Seminary there at Baylor. And we get married, we go to Truett. And within a year of being married, God puts these two boys in our life. And that's where we got Brandon and David. Brandon was 10 years old and David was 18 months old. And we were just friends of their family. And it was really, the short story is it was foster care or us. And that was it. And so we said, come on, let's move in. And they moved in to our 2-bedroom student housing apartment and never moved out. And we began to, develop relationship with their parents and with their family. And over a course of about 2 years, it eventually led to adoption. So we graduated seminary, adopted the boys, moved to San Marcos, bought our first house, all within about a month when we first moved here to San Marcos. And so we're here now. And in the process of that, I said, we thought we were doing missions. That's what we were going to do. We actually took the boys with us to Greece for 2.5 months during the summer. Right after we got them. And it was clear God was like, yes, keep the mission heart.
Yes.
But your mission field are these kids. And there was no way we were taking them cross-cultural, to another country. And so that was when we began to pray and discern. And I'd already been doing student ministry for about 5 years while I was in seminary. I loved it and still love it. And so we began to pray. And when I was interviewing for this job, the pastor was just real open and said, look, I know of your wife. I know that you both were going to go do missions. I know why you aren't doing missions. And I'm not saying I can promise it, but we are looking eventually to add a missions pastor. And he followed through with it and hired her the next year. And so that's how we got where we are. Man. And we've been here 10 years. And we love it. Love San Marcos. Love what the community is for our kids and just love ministering to these people.
Yeah, man, it's a great place, and I love hearing that story. And I know some of you watching this, you may be going, "Wow, I feel like God may be calling me to ministry." And I just want to say, as you listen to Clint's story there, one thing to pick up on is just, hey, when God calls you, even if you don't say yes immediately, right? Here's a good sign, I should say, that God's calling you. It won't go away. It won't leave you, right?
That's right. That's 100%. It won't. I remember for about freshman and sophomore year, I loved math, and so I was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna be an engineer. I'm gonna be an engineer." People would ask, "What are you gonna do?" I'm gonna be an engineer, and that's what I said. And then one day, accidentally, I was just like, "I'm gonna go into ministry." Where'd that come from?
Wow.
Like it just came out. And,
bro.
And so, but God just he won't let it go. And I always tell kids, when they come to me asking about, I think I might be called to ministry. I say, all right, let's sit down. Let's pray about that for a month. Let's pray every day for a month. And sometimes they'll say, well, what if I can't do it every day? I was like, well, then maybe you should, this is a big decision. So you can't do it for a month. Like, let's keep trying until you do and see what God does. And it's pretty cool to see how God works in that when they do really follow through and pray every day. And then they come out of it. And some of them will say, I really don't think God's calling me to ministry.
Yeah,
and that's okay
right.
too.
Yeah. That's great.
But the discernment process is real important for sure.
That's right. God may be not calling everybody to, quote unquote, full-time ministry, but everybody who's in Christ is in the ministry. And so your ministry may be, as a teacher, as a mom, as a dad, in ministry. For you guys, for a season, it was just that. And of course, as parents, it always is, our first ministry. And so, hey, listen, if you're listening to this, don't feel like, hey, if you don't feel this call to some vocational ministry, you're less than. No. Nope. God may be putting you on the coaching field, and that is your ministry. And you may have a bigger impact than any of us ever do. You just don't know. And so whatever it is, whatever you feel God pulling, find some leaders that love Jesus, get them around you, pray through it, walk it out, and God's going to show you. And that's what I love. So Clint, when you're talking, man, I can hear your passion for the next generation. And maybe I just ask you this, man, why are you so passionate about the next generation?
I mean, part of it is knowing where I came from and seeing the reality of sin and destruction and death in my own family, in my own life. and just desperately wanting there to be more, and knowing and finding that there's more. There's not just hope, but there's a reality of what God does in our life right now. And for these kids that don't live with that live their life in a way that is destructive. And I just desperately want them to see the more that God gives them,
Yeah.
And I know that there's a whole generation of kids that, I mean, these kids, especially ones that are coming into youth ministry right now, if they get a hold of it, they are so passionate about what they believe in, about what they want to do. And it's a generation that's going to change the world if we can just get them in, right? Like they will be all in. That's one thing that I've struggled with, like just looking around at my generation a lot. My generation, it just seemed like there were some of it, like some people just all in whatever they did. But the generations that have come after us, like whether it be content creation or music or whatever they're passionate about, they have gone all in more than we ever did at that time. And seeing that, I've just gone, man, like this next generation, oh dude, like I just can't wait to see what God is going to do. And so it's exciting to think about what he's going to do in their life.
That's what, man, one reason I think, stats will tell us that over 70% of everyone who ever comes to Jesus does so by their 18th birthday. And so we go after this next generation. You're getting passion, you're getting energy, you're getting just this, I think about even Jesus, right? You have to have this childlike faith, this childlike trust, right? Some people call it, just stupidity or whatever, but, or ignorance. But the truth is, man, there is a trust that teens and children have for their parents or people like that I think the Lord is calling all of us to, right? Not to lose that, to, hey, I'm going to trust you, God, to do big things. I'm going to trust you to change lives. I'm going to trust you to use an idiot like me. Like, think about that, right? Like I don't get it. I don't understand it, but God, I'm going to trust you with it. And I've seen it over and over again, like you did, man. When sixth grade, man, you're feeling this call to ministry. God doesn't let you leave that or abandon that. He doesn't abandon you, even though you try to walk away and I'm going to do engineering. The Lord's like, no, ministry. Remember that? Hello. Remember that? And that's what I love, man. I just love watching teenagers go, hey, if this is what God's calling me to, like you said, man, I'm all in. I'm going all in on this. And that's what I love. Well, Clint, tell me this, man. You've got a student who comes up to you and they say, hey, Clint, man, I love that you share the gospel. And I invite my friends here to hear you share the gospel. But I feel like I need to tell my friends about Jesus, but I don't know where to start. What would be a good first step you would typically tell a teenager, hey, here's where to start if you want to be more consistent in talking to your friends about Jesus?
The first place is, what's your story?
Come on, man.
What's your story?
Yeah. Come on.
How did you come to know Christ? And write it down. I mean, really learn how to tell your story. And it's not just, and I try to teach my kids this rule. I don't even know where I heard it from, but I like the idea of 80, or it's 10, 80, 10. Is that right? Okay. No, 10, 10, 80. Something.
10, 10, 10, 10, 80, 10, I think.
Yeah, 10, 10, 80. 10% of what your life was before Christ, 10% of how you actually came to know him, like the process, whatever that looked like. And then 80% of your story should be what God is doing now. And so that's the biggest thing. Like if God's not actually working in and through you right now, then what do you have to share? So that's really just learning your story and then being consistent in your own walk. And then looking for those opportunities, trying to find opportunities to build relationships with people, and then be able to be intentional when you have that chance to actually turn that conversation to Jesus. And sometimes we'll even practice at youth. We'll do practice. I used to call it awkward night, where we would have awkward conversations, and I would say, all right, pair up with somebody, and I would ask awkward questions and get them to talk through awkward conversations, and then try to get them to learn to point that conversation to Jesus, whatever it might be. Because that's really, and I've started doing that on my own, here at Texas State. We've got 40,000 college students that don't know Jesus.
Wow.
I mean, it is crazy. And so I've started going to a coffee shop, and I have these little cards that I take that say coffee with Clint. And every Thursday for 2 hours, if they find me, I'll buy them coffee if they'll just sit down and have a conversation with me.
Mm,
And so that's kind of what I
I
try to
love it.
encourage and inspire our
I
kids to
love
do.
it. Yeah, man, I love that. Telling your story, knowing your story, mapping it out, practicing it out. See people think, man, that's just weird. No, no, it's good. Like, because then you don't stumble over it, because I promise you, it's spiritual warfare. When you start telling your story, and the way that you shared your story about, man, losing your parents adopting you, when they took you to church, you heard the gospel, you respond like you can tell, hey, he shared this story before, but it wasn't cold. It
Right.
wasn't like, oh yeah, no, it wasn't just something you're like memorized. It's like, hey, this is my story. And
Yep.
people resonate with stories. And so know your story, and make sure, I love what you said, man, make sure you include, hey, here's when I met Jesus, right?
Right.
Because a lot of people are like, yeah, I went to church, and then got baptized, and they just skipped the whole, hey, I realized I was lost. I needed a savior, man. And I realized I
Yep.
couldn't save myself. And everybody's looks a little bit different, but man, being able to share that story. And then I love what you said, man. Make sure that you are sharing what is God doing now, because that's going to resonate with people. Because if you're 18 and the only thing you have is, oh, I prayed a prayer when I was 8, we got a problem, man. Houston, there may be a problem. So,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but Clint, kind of to wrap up here, I know, speaking of stories, man, stories inspire and encourage, and we want you listening or watching. Hey, by the way, if you find yourself getting real value out of this, man, you're watching this, you're going, man, this is so good. Hey, would you do us a favor? Would you make sure you hit that subscribe button? Would you share this with someone else? Would you give us a rating? All of that helps us continue to let other people know about Jesus and how they can tell other people about Jesus as well. And these stories, Clint, I know, as you've been there for 10 years, the best way I know how to say it, you've seen a student get it, right? Like, you're like, oh man, it clicks, and you're like, man, they are on fire and God is using them. Could you share with us real quick maybe one of those stories?
Yeah. About 2 years ago, maybe a little less, we introduced the Life in 6 Words app.
Yeah,
And I
man.
started using that as a tool to help teach our kids how to share their faith.
Yeah.
And so we spent a whole Wednesday and we walked through the whole thing. I put it on the screen. I showed them all the things. And some of our kids, you could tell they were like, whatever, like, I'm never going to use this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a seventh grader, brand new seventh
Come
grader to the
on.
ministry, right?
Come on.
And he got a hold of it. And so later that week, I was showing one of my college leaders that wasn't able to come, like, hey, look at this. It's so cool. And on
Mm-hmm.
it, you can see activity.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and we had done like a practice one. So like there was one that accepted Christ, right?
Yeah.
And just the show so we could see.
Come on. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all of a sudden I saw 11 more like that had accepted Christ. And I was like, so I thought,
What?
oh, and it tells you who's doing it. And I thought, man, that
Yeah.
kid's, he's just playing around with the app, right? Like he's trying to figure it out.
He's like playing a game.
Yeah. So I texted him, I'm like, hey man, how are you liking that Life in 6 Words app? And he's like, dude, I love it. And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, so like, you're using it? He goes, every day. And I was like, how many people have you led to Christ? And immediately 11. And I was like,
Come on. Come
what?
on.
In a week?
What?
Like in less than a
Wow.
week, he led
Man.
11
Come
kids
on.
in his class in 7th grade through the Life in 6 Words app, and 11 of them prayed. I mean, it was
Golly.
amazing,
That's
And
awesome,
so,
man.
it was just cool to see him. Like I want to use this every day.
Yep.
And so it was awesome to see that, in a 7th grader. And so we
And
brought him up, and we were able to like encourage and challenge and inspire a lot of our
yeah,
other kids. Like, it's
that's
not
it.
that hard.
Yeah,
It's just
man.
doing it. And
That's
so,
it.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I would say if there's anybody that got it, he got it, right? It clicked. And so I love that. By the way, if you're wondering what the Life in 6 Word app is, we'll drop that link in the show notes. One of my great friends, Greg Steer, and his
Yeah.
ministry, Dare to Share, they do an incredible job of helping equip and train. He and I talk a lot, and I just love his heart. And we share a similar heartbeat of seeing this generation just raised up to
For
lead their
sure.
friends to Jesus. Every kid hearing the gospel from a friend, that's their goal. And so, man, well, Clint, let me tell you something, man. As you shared here, I know people, your story resonated with somebody listening, and I want to just share, how can people get in touch with you? They want to follow up with you, man. They want to hear more about what you're doing. Maybe they want to talk to you about youth ministry, man. Who knows, adoption? I have no idea, bro. What's going to resonate with people? How can people connect with you?
I mean, the easiest way right now, the only like platform I
Mm-hmm.
have that's consistent is on TikTok. It's at Youth
Yeah,
Pastor Clint.
there you
And
go.
so that's probably the easiest way to contact me there. Or you can just email me at clint.followell@gmail.com.
There you
And
go.
so those are the two most consistent places to find me. And but would love to reach out and contact and
Yeah.
hear more. If anybody has questions, absolutely.
Yeah. I love it, man. Well, I'm going to make sure we drop that info as well in our notes. If you're watching or listening, hey, thank you for doing that. It is an absolute joy to get to do this, and I hope stir you up in a fresh way.
Oh,
But before
absolutely,
we
man.
jump off here, we got to know, Clint, is my boy Clint Followell, is Clint a dog guy or a cat guy?
Without hesitation, always has been, always will be a dog man, right? Like love dogs. Story,
All right.
just real quick. On my way
Uh-huh.
home from our honeymoon, my wife and I went to Colorado. We were driving back. There's a little puppy on the side of the road running around in somebody's yard, but it was clearly not their dog. And we
Yeah.
pulled over and picked up this puppy off the side of the road. It's still our dog today. He's 14
Oh
years
my
old.
gosh.
But
Wow.
we get home and she takes the dog to the vet and comes back with a cat. And I go, "What is this? What is this?"
Oh no.
And so
Oh
so
no.
we do have a cat, but
Oh
that cat and I have
man.
a love-hate relationship.
That's
But that
right.
dog is mine. I love our dog, and so always been a
Yeah.
dog guy.
Something you missed in that premarital counseling, bro. You got to ask. Are you a
Well,
cat lady?
she's not a cat
Just
lady. She's just an animal person. Like
I
any
love it.
animal that
I
needs
love it.
saving,
Yeah,
it's
man.
like it comes to our
Yes.
house.
I love it. Hey, you know what I love, man? I do love cats outside, man. They keep mice away and all
Right?
that kind of mess. So I'm down with that. But that's awesome, bro. Well, listen, thanks again for your time, Clint, man. Thanks for sharing. And as you were listening today, something just stirred in you. You were like, oh man, I need to share this with so and so. I always encourage you,
Mm.
make sure you share it with them, because that was not you. That was the Holy Spirit in you. So share with them. Let your friend know, hey, you got to listen to this. You got to watch this Clint guy, man, one thing he said, it's going to resonate with you. So
Mm.
thanks for listening. Hey, we believe in the power of the gospel. And we know that as we equip teens to share the gospel, we're going to see a revival and awakening around the globe. And so thank you for being part of helping make that happen. Thank you for caring enough about
Mm.
the Lord and teens to take time to listen. And as well, I can't wait for next episode when we get to share a little bit more of how you can be more consistent, more confident in sharing your faith with Jesus with others. But until then, don't forget this. Today is a great day to tell someone about Jesus. So let's go.